mental health, chronic disease management, and much, much more. So Summer and her team so wonderfully got this approved by the state. So there were multiple boards that she had to go through. Everything has been approved by them, and then we're going to be utilizing some of our health department nurses as the team to carry out all of these different types of things. So goals for mobile integrated health is to reduce some of our frequent flyers in our emergency departments, to make sure that we're helping individuals who are calling EMS, but that could maybe be a quick and easy house call. We really want to reduce some of our mental health issues in the community, obviously, and then some of the other big factors are fall risk management. So those are some of our biggest goals. What am I missing?
Nothing. You did great.
Oh, thank you. This is her program, sorry. No, it's going to be this awesome partnership between the two of us. And then, I mean, it's obviously two internal county departments that are going to be working together. But the health department is going to be supplying things like a cell phone for it, an iPad. We'll be paying with some of our state funds, the software systems, so that we can be talking to them. We can get a lot of the other community partners involved. So we actually just had that demo today. So anytime that we're using any of that state funding to pay for any of these new types of services and programs, the state just strongly suggests that we have an MOU to say that we are offering these things. So that's where the MOU comes in.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
Trish, appreciate that. You gentlemen have any questions about the Morgan County Health Department Memorandum of Understanding that's on the... I would say one of the things that we do in this county, and all government, local government especially, is our concern with the most important thing we have is it's our health. And, you know, they can protect us from, we protect us from each other, actually. We try to drive crazy, or we want good roads and we want all this stuff, but when you get down to the bottom line, if you don't, the health is invaluable. And we appreciate anything that you can do to maintain and encourage and work for the health of our folks. So, any questions on this memorandum? I'll entertain a motion.
Kenny Howe makes a motion for the Morgan County Health Department on the MOU between Morgan County Health Department and the Morgan County EMS.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded that we approve this memorandum of understanding with the Morgan County Health Department. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes 3-0, and a great thank you to you all, and thanks for coming and presenting this.
Thanks, Summer. Thanks very much for those words, Don. So
You got some? All right.
I do have one more for you. So our other MOU is that we would like to contract with an individual for the role of marketing manager for the health department. We have quite a few things that we would love for her to do, especially with this new funding. We need to get awareness out there. We're starting a lot of new programs. We're going to have a lot more services available to people in the community. So this state, again, no funding is free, right? So we have the new funding from the state. We have 22 pages worth of data that we get to turn into them twice a year. And a lot of that just has to do with what we're doing, what we're accomplishing, what our partners are doing. So they want all of those things. They want success stories. They want the data collected. They want it put on the website. They want it on social media. And we just don't have anyone who has that expertise and or time right now in the health department. So we're gonna keep her busy. But we're thinking that we would have her for up to 10 hours per week. And then we would revisit this in a year to see how that's working out for us.
Fantastic.
I think so.
It is. Thank you. That's in this memorandum. I was just kind of seeing some of the things that I think we have. One of my concerns have always going to be about all the people, but just recently I haven't experienced myself, but I see one of the things that we have is an aging county, which is good, because I'm one of them. But I saw one of the things you do there is your risk assessments on falling and helping people deal with that. And I have a good friend who's actually taking care of a wife that's in a wheelchair, and then he fell. And you don't appreciate the small things.
Yeah.
And the kind of work you're doing is kind of making me more aware of what I need to do to prevent falling and stuff. But that's just one of the many things that the health department does and assists with, and it's very appreciated.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be doing some scoring in the morning, is that right?
We are going to be scoring in the morning. Yes, we have
All right.
four new applicants for 4 new amazing services. So
That'll be great.
it will be. Yeah.
Thank you, Trish.
Very welcome.
Is there anything else? Oh,
Did you have any questions?
okay. Then
Brian
we'll-
Carter makes the motion that we
I'm sorry.
You're fine.
pass the MOU between Deanna Stone, Marketing Manager, and Morgan County Health Department.
Second.
I'm sorry, I missed that one too.
No problem.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve that agreement. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion, we've done that now. I was a little tardy in getting to it.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trish.
Thanks.
Okay. Next thing we have is Zach Worth from the Hill. Zach is our director of the dispatch. That's probably the first thing that has to happen before anything moves. Somebody calls and you make sure it gets the right spot. Zach, what is on your request tonight about AT&T quote?
Yes, so it's going to be for our Capital 911 lease, which is our 911 call handling solution. It's up. It actually ended this year, so I've been working with Craig Bennett from AT&T to renew our contract. With that, we reviewed 3 different solutions, the one we're currently on, and 2 others. The one we've decided on is Carbine Apex, and that's what the quote is for here. We don't have the master agreement finished yet. We're still working on non-verify language to get that suited for us. The importance of getting the pricing schedule signed tonight is if we get it, did this go off? Oh.
Yeah.
If we get it
it's
signed
not-
this month,
not
we
coming along real strong.
get 3 months free. So that would be a savings of $49,476 for the county.
1,000 what, Zach?
$49,476.
Thank you, sir.
Hang on just a second, because yeah, are you talking about I'm sorry, I was looking at some other stuff here on the rapid deploy thing as well? Or is this is what you're talking about now?
Right now, it's just the AT&T pricing schedule.
The AT&T?
That's correct.
All right, and then we're going to talk about the rapid deploy in just a second. Okay,
Yep.
I got you. And we've got the number on the AT&T.
So what are you doing with the cloud? You're working out some of the legality before we, what are you needing from us? Because what I heard from you is that there was still some other issues that you're working out.
So we're just waiting for the master agreement contract to finalize with AT&T.
Right.
I can, yeah, if Greg wants to jump in.
So the county has a master agreement. My name's Craig Bennett. Grew up in Morgan County, Martinsville. I'll go ahead and let you say it if you want to now. It's up to you.
For the record, full disclosure, Mr. Bennett here beat me up twice in 2nd grade down in the cornfield at the end of Virginia Street.
I don't recall that. So the county has a master agreement that allows you to purchase any AT&T service off of it. This is just the pricing schedule for the 911 system. So
Gotcha.
Zach had asked us to put the E-Verify language, non-discrimination, and non-appropriation into the master. So I gave that to our legal team last Friday. They're working on that. That can get signed whenever. What Zach was saying is true about signing by the end of August. But the other thing I told him is if this gets signed by the end of August, hang on to this piece. You don't have to give it to me. We're not gonna bill anything until it's installed and all that. I just want you guys to get that 3 months
Okay,
credit.
thank you.
Since Collier had something to say about Mr. Bennett, I got two as well. I will say, go on the record that Craig's the best one to work with. You're bringing out the top gun from AT&T on the 911 solution, so I'm glad to see you again, Craig. It's been a few days, so. I'm
I don't
sure-
have anything,
I'm sure
I don't have
Collier-
anything on you.
Collier had it coming anyway.
I'm not saying I didn't have it coming.
We have there the AT&T quote.
Not the rapid deployment.
But how many months did you say? I'm doing the math. And so at 2356 times 7, 16,492. So I follow the contract up to that. But 16,492 times 12 would be just shy of 200,000.
That's correct. It would be 197,904. With the 3 months subtracted from the first year, that would be 148,428.
Okay,
Got it.
better math.
How much it costs you to keep things rolling on the hill. Appreciate that. Do we need to approve that contract? Take a motion on that.
So do we take the 197,904 minus the 3 months, or is that 197,904 calculated in the discounted 3 months?
Are you total 5-year amount?
Yeah, otherwise, I'm gonna make Mr. Bennett come back and represent in 3 months from now for the rest of the contract, and then I'm probably gonna end up getting drugged down to the cornfield again.
Calculate that before coming up. I just did the, so it would be, year 1 would be 148,428. Year 2 through 5 would be 197,904.
48, what? Also, in the fairness of transparency, Mr. Bennett, how long have you helped the county with their 911? Seriously, because that way it doesn't look like we're best buddies and that.
Yeah, so
'cause I don't
I
even like
left,
you.
I grew up here, worked at Martinsville Police Department until 2001, and then I took the 911 job in December of 2001. So I've been with AT&T doing this role since then, so 23 years.
Thank you for your help in the work that you do. And we know who to call when we have a problem. Which we do occasionally.
Brian Collier makes the motion that we accept the AT&T NG 911 PSAP solution pricing schedule.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the AT&T 911 contract. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And the motion passes 3-0. Now we have the rapid deploy.
deployment.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett.
All right, so Rapid Deploy is a mapping solution. We were previously with Rapid SOS, paying $61,000 over the course of 5 years. We were having some installation issues with them. We never got the product live due to those issues. So I got out of that contract with them and began looking for another solution. Rapid Deploy is the solution that we landed on. we would be the first in the state of Indiana to go live with them. So there would be obviously some growing pains, some things that we would have to go through to get it fully functional. The base premise of the map and the location-based routing of it would still be functional. Just things like traffic camera integrations, things like that they offer. They also offer live video, which would serve as a redundancy to the Carbine Apex product. Should anything go wrong with that, we would still be able to utilize those next generation 911 tools in that other platform. The pricing over the course of 5 years for Rapid Deploy is normally $125,000. And I was able to work with them and get down to $75,000 over the course of 5 years through multiple meetings and multiple quotes being sent back and forth. So right now I'm just requesting to be able to sign the quote to move forward with the contract and implementation of Rapid Deploy.
I had a question, and of course, I don't know a lot of what all this does. But, and I know that you'd be willing to spend some time. I'm gonna come out on the hill and just see all what happens. But on your Rapid Deploy, mapping, what specifically does that do?
So it's a web-based, a website. And when someone calls 911, it populates onto that map and shows us an exact point of where they're at based on satellite data instead of bouncing off of cell towers.
So I could be out in the country and there's an accident right there in the middle, there's no house or anything, no address. And I call and say, there's been an accident here on my cell phone, and you get a map that shows it.
Yeah, it'll be a map exactly where you're at, just a little dot with your phone number
Fantastic.
showing.
Be cool. Now, I have another question that's, I didn't realize we had that kind of technology. It's kind of handy for dispatching, especially as emergency vehicles and so forth. The other question I have concerns the contract. I see the page here that's got quantity 5, and the pricing of 450. What 5 what?
Oh, let me see. And you said it was on the first page?
Well, I don't know. It's
Okay, the first line.
yeah. It says 5, the quantity 5 at 450,
So those would be
and then
5,
for 12 months.
I'm sorry about that. It's 5 licenses to have that
Oh,
up and operating.
licenses.
Yeah, licenses for the
Is that
product.
do you use one license per station?
Yeah, per station. So
Okay.
we normally have 5 active stations at a time.
I see. So you get to use the deploy for each station that would get the call.
That's correct.
Okay.
And in their contract, once we move
I'm a little
forward.
slow, but I'm beginning to get the picture. Now, the other question I have is, I did the math real quick on this, and I'm not very good at math either, not like this guy. But I did the 450, and I got the 12,000. Actually, I didn't get 15,000 as a subtotal. I got 14,800. Now, I don't know if my math's screwed up, but math man. Anyway, it's not a big deal, except it's only $200. I say only, but
Okay.
double check that. I have no problem with it, whether it be 200 or not. But if we take that over the 5 years, which they haven't, instead of saying 15,000, if they say the 14,800, that's $1,000, and which is irrelevant really to the whole cost and what we get. But we just check that, make sure that I didn't screw up, because my
450 times 12.
right 450 times. Actually, I did 5, which gives me the 14,800. It's 9. That's pardon. I probably made a mistake.
12 times 450 times 5 consoles, 27,000, minus the $12,000 discount, leaving a balance of 15,000.
My math was screwed up, so that's why I brought it up, so now we know.
It's a curse.
Pardon?
I said, it's a blessing, it's a curse.
Yep, well, it's a blessing I never got, so I don't have to be cursed at. Well, we're good on the numbers, because he's approved them, so. And I really appreciate that service. That's really amazing that we can do that. Now, does the other dispatch center in our county have that?
Most of them are operating off of Rapid SOS. I have spoke with other directors in surrounding areas, and they're also,
The Mooresville area probably doesn't need that necessarily, but when there are places up in the northern part of the county where there's no addresses, and they would probably, where are you? Well, I don't know how they know that, so.
yeah.
Okay, well, but that's for our dispatch centers, and it's, those 5, it sounds like a good deal, and a very good service. So, I'm just learning all kinds of stuff that I wasn't sure what we were paying for. Do we have any other comments from either of the other commissioners and from the board here? Well, then I think we should entertain a motion.
Motion that we go ahead and move forward with the Morgan County Public Safety Dispatch and with rapid deployment as far as in the mapping.
Motion's been made in second to continue with the, or to obtain those 5 stations for rapid deploy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Zach, appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your help on helping see what everything happens. I will come out on the hill someday. We'll sit down, you can show me more. Okay, let me look at the agenda here, shake off these chilly.
We're up to Bridge 107 again.
107, good old 107, okay. Justin.
Good evening, everyone. Before you is the item for Bridge 107. Sure you guys are sick of hearing about this bridge. I've heard about it several times throughout your tenures as commissioners. Let me kind of start from the beginning. Here's a contract that you guys signed back in 2022 when this project was originally kicked off with the previous engineer. We were under contract for design for the amount of $249,000. Due to some fortunate circumstances, that project had to be pulled. And then back in last November, we reapplied to NDOT. When I made the application for the funding amount, I took this $250,000, I increased it by 20 grand to about 270,000 and submitted that as the design fee for this. Looking at things right now, just to be fully transparent with you guys, they're generally apples to apples, this new contract and the old contract. I have found that there may be about $30,000 worth of work that was not included in this one that is included in this new contract. Stepping back a little bit, NDOT awarded us this grant opportunity. The next process then was to select our consultant. The way we select consultants is we score these consultants based on a letter of intent. We don't see their fee at that time. It's purely a qualification-based selection. We selected Burgess & Nyepel for this new contract, and in entering negotiations with them, we have a final dollar amount of $444,189. $444,189. Talking with NDOT, with our original estimated amount for the design fee, they will only cover $216,000 of our grant amount. That means essentially Morgan County is responsible for the remaining $228,000. On a normal NDOT project, it's an 80-20 split. They provide 80% of the funding, we match the 20. They are unwilling to increase their amount to help us meet this contract amount here.
They're probably sick of Bridge 107 too.
I can imagine, yeah. So, looking through the contracts, I mean, there's several factors. Like I said, there's about $30,000 worth of more work in this contract that wasn't in the old one. So I'll take that one on the chin. It should have been checked a little bit better. It was a $20,000 increase from over the last one. Could that have been bumped up a little more? Probably, but at the time, I thought that was an acceptable inflation amount, you know? But then really, when you deep dive into everything, across the board, it's just more expensive for all the services and fees. I think everyone knows that certain consultants can definitely be cheaper than others. We don't know the, you know, pricing until we get to a consultant selection and we start the contract negotiations. So, you know, there's several factors that play into this. So we've never worked with this consultant in the county before. They knocked our socks off with the LOI. The scoring committee really thought they were the best selection for this project. So right now, we have a decision to make. Either we move forward with the project at a roughly 50-50 split for the design, or we need to pull this contract and reapply for it in November if they hold a new call for projects and then resubmit. I have heard some rumors, NDOT may not hold a contract, or a call for projects this November. I can't verify that one way or another. It's just some industry rumors I've heard floating around. So on the one hand, this is a very expensive contract that we would be paying more than the allotted match would normally be. On the flip side to that is NDOT is not letting this project, if we approve it today, go to construction until 2030. If we potentially delay this, that could be 2031 if we get it on the next cycle. If they don't have that cycle and we have to wait 2 years, that's 2032. This is one of the top bridges in the, yeah.
What, NDOT's doing what? That this won't go on until 2030?
Yes, so right now, the funding amount, the letting that this would go on through NDOT, meaning when we bid the project, is in October of 2029, meaning the construction would happen in 2030.
When's the construction start if we look at this, the proposal that's been made?
2030. 2030,
23?
2030. 2030,
2030, way out. So,
Yeah.
so if
With
we
the
go
current?
back,
yes, with this contract right now.
I mean, if we approve this, then the bridge won't be built until 2030.
Yes.
When was it originally going to be built?
Well, with this 2022 contract, they anticipated a 2025-year construction. That 2030 getting pushed out a couple extra years, that's nothing to do with our consultant or us. That's NDOT's funding availability that they've planned program projects out, and they're just not letting construction go till 2029,
How do they
2030.
understand that you can make something 6 years ahead of time?
It's becoming the norm, unfortunately. There's more red tape to jump through, and
I
these
can't imagine
projects
how
get,
they,
yeah.
no wonder this price is out of sight, because they're hedging that things aren't going to be, the costs are going to be up.
Sure.
They have to.
Yep.
I mean,
so what's your professional recommendation?
To be honest, I'm torn with you. I love building bridges. I think we need to stay on our rotation of building bridges because after 2025, next year, we have 2 projects going. This will be the first bridge project that the county has as a replacement until 2030. So that's essentially 4 or 5 years where we have no bridge replacements. And with 157 bridges in the county, with a 75-year average lifespan, we need to be really trying to do 2 a year.
So basically, we're off about, if you would divide the time frame of building between now and then, roughly about $35,000 a year. Is there somewhere that we can sit down and future projects and whatnot? That way we at least keep this on the radar and we keep, you've made like 3 presentations on having to do these bridges. And for all the citizens out there, we have too many bridges and too much mileage and not enough money. So if we get out of sync, we're gonna be in big trouble. And so, I mean, we were throwing, the poor council today was throwing numbers all around, had me all confused. Power to them. I'm glad they do it, and I don't do those numbers anymore. But I think, I mean, Josh, do you feel like we could find the shortfall based upon all the circumstances and everything that's going on with Bridge 107?
Yeah, Justin and I talked about it quite a bit last week. I think the risk of not moving forward is more substantial than the extra cost. The construction budget, which is your biggest portion, was fine. It was the PE number that got busted. And I hate to hold up one of our most critical bridges for that. I mean, I agree, they're gonna have to come up
And the way construction costs have gone, 6 years from now, the overall cost in the building, construction costs that you just said is solid, will be probably a lot more than what we're on a sacrifice by going forward tonight.
And I would like to add,
History repeats itself in the world of construction. And, because their inflation factor is a lot greater than what the federal government tries to quote you on consumer price index.
sure. And just so you guys are aware, we had some money wrapped up in this project that's been sitting, all year until we got under contract. That money, including some additional appropriation that was asked for next year, would cover this entire design fee. So we can still get creative and try to find some other savings and everything. But right now, as the budget request stands, this line item has enough to cover this project.
So what do you need from us?
Yes or
Blessing to go
no?
forward?
Yes. Do we want to, I have to have a contract signed and to NDOT by September 1st. So this would be our last formal meeting on the regular schedule. If we were to try to reconsider or, want to negotiate a little bit more, we would have to hold a special session to get this approved before September 1st. I will say, they were at 502,000. I did talk them down to 444,000. So, that's like, almost $60,000. Wasn't the whole way, but they did come down some.
Kind of interesting to me, they negotiated 60,000 out of it after saying, what you doing? Is that right?
Yeah, I came back to them and, hey, you guys need to sharpen your pencil on some of these because they just seem a little
Sharpen your
out of place.
pencil.
Yeah.
Now, this has sounded really nutty, but in your scoring for whoever you want to have the Bridge 107 contract, what did you consider, I suppose, would be, obviously, have we worked with this outfit before?
I have worked with their project manager in a different capacity when he was at NDOT, but we have never worked with this firm in a design capacity for the county.
Okay.
Yes. So when you score through NDOT, they have a predetermined number of categories that you have to score these firms based on. Pricing isn't one of them. It's the qualifications of the team. That's one, and it's set at a certain weighted value. The second's the project manager, who's leading the team. The third would be their design capacity. Are they so overbooked with work that they wouldn't be able to get to this in time? So there's like 3 or 4 categories similar to that are already predetermined that you have to select them based on.
And when you make that scoring, I know, I think I spoke to you the other day about, I think Hamilton County actually gives the commissioners 2 shots at it. Two different, okay, you can use this firm or another firm, which is interesting. And I suppose that means who came in first and who came in second on the scoring. I don't know how you'd get 2, but I assume that would be what would happen.
Sure. The only caveat to that is that can only be done on a 100% locally funded project. On any project with federal aid, we have to go by the scoring. You cannot deviate from that or they won't give you the money.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yes. Mhm. Yeah, but anything that we fund totally in-house, we have that leisure to kind of pick at our discretion.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, that's what I need to know.
Yep.
Do you other gentlemen have any other questions? Are you ready for a motion? What if we don't move? Where's that going?
If we don't make a move, we don't get a bridge.
Till, what is the condition of the bridge?
So this
that
is an
one of
old
the-
steel truss.
Do we do worst first type thing with bridges?
No, I mean, generally, you want to look at the overall condition of the bridge, but, so this one's on Measle Road. It's in the northwest corner of the county. It is a very low ADT traveled road. The problem is it is posted for a weight restriction, and that is a farming community up there where that bridge is not wide enough that farm equipment can go across it. They have to go around a pretty significant distance to be able to cross that lake ditch. It's one of our legal drains. So, you know, is this the absolute worst bridge in the county? I would not say that, but there's other factors in there that you have to consider other than just the one that's got the worst case on it.
Is this a historic bridge?
It is not.
It's just an undersized old bridge.
Yep.
I fear if we take this off our radar, based upon the history of that and several other bridges 2 years ago, or a little over a year ago, it does not behoove us or the county as we continue to try to get matching grants. Brian Kyer makes a motion that we accept the proposal for Bridge 107.
Do we have a second?
I hate putting things off, but I mean, this bridge is basically only serving 5 people. I mean, it's just really low.
I'm sorry, I didn't do it.
I said, I hate putting it off, but I mean, this bridge serves 5 people. They've got multiple ways to get around it. I don't have a crystal ball to say how long that bridge is gonna last, but, I just got some major reservations about it. I'll go ahead and second the motion. I really don't like it. They should have sharpened it a little bit more, but that's just me.
Well, thank you for the second and the comment, because I didn't know it served only 5, but it goes back to what I stated this morning at the council hearing, budget hearing, is that on some of these bridges, and like many of our roads, and if those who came to our last meeting, we have over 770 miles of road. It takes over $100,000 to put 1.5 inch of overlay on that road. We would have to do $6-7 million worth of asphalt work every year to stay on all our roads, to have them paved every 10 to 12 years. We don't have that type of budget. Therefore, eventually, we're gonna have to sit down and make the tough decision on closing bridges, closing roads, taking roads back to gravel. There's nothing else. I mean, it's just strictly numbers. So, and we alluded to going down and coming up with a master plan that going forward on where these bridges are and what bridges have to be placed, and then how we're gonna get the funding and the mechanisms in place that we can do 2 bridges per year. How many bridges do we have?
157.
So, you know, Morgan County, for all its beauty, gives us a lot of hills, hollers, and creeks. And to get across the creeks, you need bridges, so. My motion still stands.
Well, we've had a motion made and seconded, and I think everybody's made their comments. And I'll make mine. I don't like it, but I don't see an option. And I guess that's what, if there was a better option, I'd bite. But reluctantly, I'll support the motion. So all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion passes 3-0. I'd like for them to sharpen their pencil more, but that's not going to happen.
Sure. Well, thank
Okay.
you all.
Thank you.
We have one more, I think, from NDOT, do we not?
Yes, we do. So the next item is a reimbursement agreement for the work we performed on Cook Road. So as many of you know, NDOT has been working on State Road 42 west of Monrovia. As part of that project, a couple months back, you guys signed a memorandum of understanding that if we were to see any of our adjacent roads deteriorate during that construction, specifically that we picked out as Cook Road, that they would reimburse us for work to restore it to its previous condition. Cook Road's a gravel road, so we took about 8 or 10 truckloads of stone out there and spread it back over the road to restore it to its initial condition. And so NDOT is looking to reimburse us for $3,378.70 for that work. So I'm looking for your approval to enter into this so they can pay us.
Brian Collier makes a motion that we enter to the contract for the unofficial detour reimbursement contract.
Okay.
What can you do with $3,000 out there, Justin?
Spread about 8 or 10 loads of stone out. That's what it took. So, yeah.
We'll take what we can get, I guess.
That's right.
about the way it goes.
Yep, they got off easy on this one, so.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Okay, professional services, Major David from our hotel. It's not on the hill, the hotel in the valley.
It's in the floodplain, not the hill.
Dave, for all of you, is the man in charge of the best jail in Morgan County, or best jail in the state. And that's coming from other people besides me.
Yeah.
Thank
Hopefully it doesn't encourage people to come to the jail. Coming to you tonight for a couple of different agreements to finish up our transition of the jail taking over the medical department from a provider. I want to first of all thank Ann for all the work and late nights she has put in to try and get our contracts and agreements put together. And so the first one in front of you would be for Heritage. And it's basically the billing company that we would use. So when we take inmates to the hospital or they get x-rays, lab work, those type of things, all the medical bills will go to this provider. They will negotiate those for us. We will pay a monthly invoice to them to pay those for us. And then, yeah, so that'll save the auditor's office from having a bunch of extra vendors and having to negotiate and deal with billing. So that's what that agreement does. The cost of that, we've estimated about $21,000 a year. That could be less than that, could be a little bit more. They basically charge us a $50 processing fee per invoice that they do for us. And based on our historic invoicing throughout the years, we've got around 30 to 40 of those a month that get processed currently. So just asking for permission to go ahead and engage in that contract so we can get that done before the end of the month so they can start processing this month's bills, because we have pending bills that we would like to get over to Heritage to start processing so we can get that paid.
Now, help me understand this, David, or help the folks understand. Sure. What we're really looking at here is it's called a administrative of healthcare services.
Correct.
Many of our residents at the jail are on Medicare. Is that correct?
No.
Does this deal with that? What's this deal with?
So this is irrelevant of any kind of Medicare or Medicaid. The county has engaged with Indiana HIP 2.0, which is a version of Medicaid. So not every county did do that, but by doing that, we do get some discounting through the state of Indiana. So when we do take an inmate to the hospital, if they are admitted into the hospital after the first 24 hours and they are diagnosed and admitted into the hospital, then we get some discounting through Medicaid that way. But ultimately, we don't get Medicaid discounting. Now, what we do get is state statute discounting. So the state of Indiana gives all correctional facilities in the state by statute. We basically pay Medicaid rate plus 4%. They can't bill us over that. However, that does not prevent us from negotiating below that if possible, and that's what companies like this do, is they, like this company particularly, has the U.S. Marshal contract for the United States, And so they have obviously some buying power per se, or negotiation power, and so we get to leverage that power. And so by theory, we should be able to get below that Medicaid +4 that's statutorily regulated. So they'll help in aspects like that. And also with our pharmaceuticals, they'll help with those contracts as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Got a better grasp. Gentlemen, do you have any questions today? Oh, I suppose we need a motion before we discuss it a whole lot.
Kenny Hill makes a motion that we approve the professional service agreement between Heritage Health Solution, Inc. and Morgan County Sheriff's Office.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion on it? All in favor of the motion, then say aye. Aye. It passes 3-0.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Commissioners. The second one, which
We've
we
got another
done,
one here.
one just like this last meeting for our primary nurse practitioner. This will be for our secondary nurse practitioner, which is basically the fill-in, or if we cannot get a hold of the first one, this is our secondary person to call. And so that contract's very similar. The price that they're being paid is a little bit less than the second, or the primary, but they will be required basically the same amount of hours. If the primary can't be on site for the weekly visit, they'll fill in for that. And then they're also on 24/7 call as well if we can't get a hold of the primary. So that amount monthly will be $6,666.67 that we'll be paying them. And that money is funded already in our professional services. A little bit different though, this provider actually did not wish for us to pay for their physician oversight. So we did remove that from our obligation in the contract and move that under the obligation of the practitioner. So we'll just pay that amount where our primary asks that we pay for their oversight.
Okay.
So there was one change on this contract that I wanted to make that I just realized that I had back there because it was late when I was doing this, and I realized I put September 2nd instead of August 2nd, so I will want to make that effective today if this is approved. And I'll amend this contract and send it back out to them.
Thank you, David.
Yes.
I think the public should be aware, and I think they are, most of the people that follow it, but you were kind of caught, the jail was caught in a rather emergency situation last month with losing all the, there's a lot of stuff that goes on taking care of 200 or 300 folks, well, 200 folks, 230, whatever it is right now. And you found yourself in a situation where the health side of it was basically sort of collapsed
Yes.
through a contract that somebody just decided they didn't want to do it. And I know that sounds not quite the picture, but my point is that I appreciate, and I think the citizenry appreciates the effort and the creativity and getting the job done for the same money. Well, within, I think it was $3,000 for the annual. And I just want to thank you publicly for the hard work that went into it and the job you got accomplished.
Well, I appreciate that, but it
Maybe
took
it's why you-
all of us was scrambling around making it happen. So between the Commissioners Council and everyone, and I again, this is the first time I really worked with Ann, and she put a lot of time in helping me get contracts, and her and Josh both, trying to get all this.
The team.
Yes, so it took everyone truly
It is a
to
team.
make this happen, so,
We appreciate the team and appreciate what you've accomplished
absolutely.
and Josh and everybody, and thank you. And it is very, and that's maybe one of the reasons, that's not the reason, but explains why you and the sheriff got to be recognized this year at the conference as outstanding and you are.
Absolutely.
Thank
I think
you.
that's just a reflection of the people that work below us, and, I mean, I tell my people I couldn't do what I do without them. If I had to run that place by myself, it would be a disaster, I promise.
You're very kind.
Absolutely.
I'll entertain a motion.
Kenny Hill makes a motion, we approve the independent contractor agreement for the provision of inmate health services as an independent contractor in Warren County Sheriff's Department.
Motion been made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed 3-0. And thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioners, and I do want to address one more thing if possible. What was that?
Put you on the spot before you get out of here.
I was getting ready to probably address what you were getting ready to put me on the spot about, but,
Phone update?
yeah, if I can.
Sure.
Yes.
So I know there's a couple of people in the audience too that's concerned about the phones as I am, and I know Josh has been working with us and Joel. The phones are still out at the jail. We can make calls out, we cannot get calls in. Today, I am happy to announce that Joel was able to get the phones ported in. The lines are ringing into the automated system. However, the automated system is not directing the calls to any phones within the facility. So the AT&T problem seems to be solved. So that's a step closer. Josh, I know, just talked to Joel this evening to get Nimbo and See To It, which is one of our other providers, on site tomorrow to see why the phones aren't directing where they need to go. But as of right now, with the porting, that caused us another issue as well, that we was relying on our fax line to be it was the only phone that we had that was working, and apparently when it got ported over, it's got some complications that has basically cut it down to only accepting calls from 342 and 341 numbers. So if you're calling it from a 317 or a 315, we found out early this morning that it's no longer accepting calls from those numbers. It says it's disconnected when you call. So, which is, again, not an AT&T problem, because now that number's been ported over to the new provider. So they have been made aware of that. I don't know what the solution is to it, but we are basically kind of without phones totally again. So I know you'll probably get some comment here shortly, and it's justified comment as well, that it is a problem. So, so
We can
that's
only do what you can do. as long as
update
we're
on
doing
where
the
we're
best
at,
we
so.
can do.
Absolutely.
And we won't have a time frame until that company looks at it tomorrow?
Yeah, I assume it's a programming issue of some sort with the phones. So hopefully it's something they can rectify fairly quickly, but I don't know much about telephones, to be honest, so I can't speak of how long that will take, so.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
He got his hand up anyway.
You'll have to wait. Do you have that, I'm looking for that the public speaking here. That's what I needed. I needed a minute, not right yet, but want to get to it soon. Okay, next item on the agenda is Josh on the BOT recommendation.
Good evening, gentlemen and ladies.
Good evening.
So this has been a project that's been a long time coming. We were awarded, as part of the Ready 1.0 grants, money towards putting in a lift station to open up development of some acreage there in the Waverly area. It was a long process. People, were waiting for a developer to buy the land so that they can deed us over a piece of land. We didn't want to purchase the land off of them because this is to open up development for that area. That has finally happened. So we've been going through the BOT process with the grant proceeds. About 1.3 million is coming from Ready. About 300,000 is coming from the commissioners via ARPA, and about 300,000 is coming from the RDC. So we finally have guaranteed maximum price in. The next step in the process is to bring forth the official recommendation letter. I'm just presenting this to you on behalf of the board, the committee, which was Commissioner Hale, myself, and Chelsea Mans, which represents the RDC. We don't need action tonight. It's just here for you guys to review. At your next meeting, we'll have a public hearing, which is part of the BOT statutory process, and we'll ask for approval to start moving forward at that point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Josh.
I'll mention to the folks in the public, when we talk about a bot, it's actually a process that's relatively new. Oh, it's not that new. It was how they built the Lucas Oil. but it's been practiced lately. We're using it in the county right now to build our judicial center. We're going to be using it for other facilities. I know my wife's on the park board in Mooresville. They're actually using a bot up there for some of their programs. It's build, operate, transfer, and it is a slick way. Now, that doesn't sound right. It's a good way to protect the tax dollar. I would say that, and get a good job done. And we've had very good success with the project that we're working on here, the large project that we're involved right now with the judicial center, or what people end up calling it, the new courthouse. Okay, that takes care of the new business, unless I missed an item. My ladies, we're good. I usually miss something. Now we're entering into the third part of our agenda is the old business and tabled business. First item on the old business is the ordinance 2024-10, which was the clerk's fee. Ann, do you want any discussion on that, or
It's the same thing we had last meeting, it's just second reading.
second reading?
Nobody's given me any comment, questions,
Second reading for
concerns.
I didn't, it says it right there beside it, second reading. But it's an opportunity, if we have any questions or changes that we want to make, we can. Any questions on the second reading of the clerk's fees? Then I'll entertain a motion.
Kenny Howe makes a motion, we approve ordinance number 2024-10, the clerk fees.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded for the second reading of ordinance 24-10, clerk's fees. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Ordinance is now an ordinance. The next item that was tabled is ordinance 24-12, which concerned 911 addressing. This is the second one for it. It's been kind of revised since we passed it the first time. Let me make sure I've got it here in front of me. Pardon me, desk is getting kind of crowded. Because we had 2 or 3 versions of that. This ordinance is for addressing parcels that aren't, or public buildings, I guess it would be, getting addresses for places that don't have, well, structures. They can have structures, but they're not usually the ones that get addresses. Is that correct?
Not residences, commercial buildings, public buildings, whatever is in
Could be
paragraph A.
anything in between, like a big barn.
Could be a barn, yes.
Okay, and the reason for this ordinance is what?
I was
Fell
gonna say
through the
this.
cracks from years ago, whenever we adopted the 911 guideline years ago, and it did not pertain to accessory structures. And we've worked on this, and it's actually stated permanent accessory structures may be assigned a permanent city-type street address in accordance with the provisions of subsection A, which refers to all others, commercial, industrial, residential units. You've got a lot of them. Back when I was coordinating the 911, whether it's a clubhouse, private, or public, I went ahead and assigned them anyway. And they are basically accessory structure because they're not a residence or anything. But that's just common sense, easy way. With the next gen 911 coming down the road, you're gonna end up having to address every structure out there anyway eventually. But right now, we're not. And we're making sure that we're not doing portable sheds, anything like that. We're talking permanent accessory structures.
Why do they need an address there, Kenny?
The reason that this one, the gentleman that would like it is got a big, it's a personal daggone center that he's got, gym, everything in it. He's also got a daughter that's got horses, they do a lot of riding out there on the facility, but yet they can't get a 911 address, and they're worried about if they need emergency, are they gonna be found easy enough? So that's why this arose, because it's not commercial, it's not industrial, it's not a residential structure, but yet it's an accessory structure that has permanent foundation and very nice place, so.
I can't find the daggone thing I'm looking for here, but I have a question, I guess, about that. One is that, yeah, but I'm looking for a little note that I had from planning and zoning or something from Ann, or from Laura. And there was some concerns about that I wanted to see that were addressed, or what might it open up. If we're taking care of 911 calls and we're concerned about being able to locate them, and I think I just saw that what she was concerned about is what could happen if you start addressing other, if you give them in the mailbox some of the other issues that can come up. Your concern seems to be, or the concern of this ordinance is for 911 and emergencies, is that correct?
Correct.
But I just understand that there was, listening to Zach, that with the program that we have, they immediately can go to the spot wherever the call was made. Is that correct? So why, is that correct, Zach?
So like how close are you gonna pinpoint that call when it's made on a cell phone out there?
So there's a couple different methods that they could.
Sorry?
A couple different methods that could be used in addition to an address or lack of an address. Obviously, latitude and longitude can be used, and that would be obtained from that mapping system, as well as a pinpoint visual on the map. There's also a system called, or a program called What 3 Words. I believe it's every 10 meters of the earth is categorized by 3 random words. You can type that into that app or program, and that will take you to that pinpoint on the map where that person's at.
So pinpoint by, what do you mean by pinpoint on a map?
Just a visual map. So it basically works the same as latitude and longitude.
So if I have a problem out in my, across the road in my pigeon coop, and I fall down, I'm sorry, I gotta mention pigeon. I fall down and I can't get up, or, you know, and I call 911. Of course, I'm in Mooresville, I suppose that might make a difference. But I'm not sure I'm in the county too. So if I call the county and say, I fell down, I can't get up, will they find me?
They should be able to find you. And on this mapping solution, you will be able to see a structure. You know, they may not be able to tell it's a pigeon coop, but they will see that it's a structure, maybe to the side of your residence or across the street.
So why do we need, I guess the question not to you, it's us. Why do we need this ordinance?
I'm not clear on what the ordinance reads.
It's just assigning an address to an accessory structure that a gentleman's got concerns
But it's for
about.
911, is that correct?
Okay.
And we don't need it because we already have it.
Yeah, I mean, we can never have too many safety falls, you know, to see if it has an address and they're there and it will ping to that address. That's obviously just another method to find someone.
Okay.
So from a 911 perspective, I don't see the harm in it. I don't know what it is on the other side, so I can't speak to that, but from us, more information is always better.
Well, I unfortunately lost a little note that I had from the concerning that. Do you have that? Go ahead.
No, my question to you, Zach, I mean, if you got a physical address, I understand if you're needing to DeLand, Lifeline, or Stat, one of the helicopter, I mean, you want as much as you can get, and you can get by with lat long. Whenever you're out there on the road and you're dealing with the deputies or an ambulance or fire, isn't it better to have a physical 911 if you're going to look some girl that fell off a horse or somebody that got hurt in a recreation center that's private?
Of course, yeah, having a
I mean,
physical,
that's gonna be the best way to find them if you're sending a deputy or a fireman or ambulance out there, right?
of course, yes, a
That's all
physical
I'm saying.
address.
And I talked to two other 911 past directors, they agree, like I do, it's better to always have physical address. Are you gonna have the problems that she alluded to in the letter? Absolutely. We've had that going on since I was 911 coordinator and also the plan director back in 97. I mean, and you still got it going on, but I mean, some people just are not gonna follow the rules 100%. But should we penalize somebody that could have an accident that could be found faster if you have a numeric address? I'm just saying yes, and I agree with the person and his concern.
I don't know it's any faster.
What's that, Don?
Wouldn't be any faster if 911 comes up with your delay, I mean, whatever you call that program, that you,
The rapid deploy.
rapid deploy.
Yeah.
I mean, can't be any faster than that.
Yeah, and in our CAD system, when we added calls for service, we do enter them by a physical address, so that would also help with that.
Which one are you gonna find faster if you're out there on emergency vehicle, a lat long or a physical address?
A physical address.
That's what
yeah.
I say.
Say that again?
It would be a physical address that a responder would find quickly. I imagine if I send
Have
Commissioner
one.
Collier a lat
What
long,
makes it faster?
more familiar method would be my thought process on that.
I mean, if they call in on a 911 call and they don't have an address, it's slower than if they do have an address?
Maybe for the responders to get there, maybe not necessarily, for the responders to get there, it could possibly cause a delay. For us to know where they're at in the 911 center, it's not really gonna make a difference in that case. It's just relaying that information in a way that's familiar to responders, that they're used to getting that information.
I mean,
I got a question for Kenny, but he's gonna put on a previous hat. I give this outbuilding behind my primary dwelling an address. With the new UDOs that I'm always learning about and whatnot, what does that entitle me to? Because it's got an address that I wasn't entitled to when it didn't have an address. Meaning, does it change the functionality of that? Does an address automatically make it a livable residence? What's the address do to the zoning or the changeability, or I don't know what?
Not changing anything there, but on elevated, once it's assigned an address, it's gonna have that centroid put on that accessory structure and it's identified just like a mobile home that's in Country Manor up there. Every one of them mobile homes, we physically drove and put a centroid on every one of them in the whole county on mobile homes. That's all it's doing. That's not giving it the blessing to be a residence. Absolutely not.
Maybe just the opposite. Because I don't want nobody giving it, if I'm gonna convert my garage into an apartment, I don't want anybody to know about it, because then my assessed value is gonna go up and I'm gonna have to pay more in taxes. Right?
Correct. But
So
they're gonna
if-
be
so if I
looking,
tell you
they're
wanna
gonna be
come out and give
looking
it-
at that roof too, though, and see how many stacks you got coming out of there. Seeing if you got a bathroom or some kind of utility in there. And this place does already. I mean, they've already got all that.
And you alluded to, because I could see the plan commission office being shortly understaffed if there's some type of proposal coming down the line that every outbuilding is gonna have to be addressed. That would be a nightmare.
Says May. I don't think you're gonna have, I mean, I've got 3 of them and I'm not gonna be asking for one. I don't need it. They're just garages. I mean, I don't need them, Brian.
Right.
This one, they're using it for a sports complex, dug in private, plus he's got acreage and his daughters gonna ride horses, his concern.
So attorney, do we need a blanket ordinance to cover everything, which probably is the proper answer? I'm gonna answer my own question. Or do you look at this on a one-on-one basis where somebody comes in and says, hey, my grandkids are riding in the stables? Because I know out off of Hancock Ridge, my kids used to ride horses out there, and it was a long ways from any house, and it was a really nice stable, but, and I would assume now, I didn't think about it back then, but I assume there was no address on that stable.
Made it easier to find now for that deputy or that ambulance, or if you had one, but that's just me.
And the question I believe that I hear from you, Commissioner Collier, is do we need to have an ordinance to authorize the planning folks to give an address under circumstances that might warrant it? Because right now, the ordinance that we have says shall with respect to those buildings that are listed, residence, public buildings, commercial property, industrial property, et cetera. And I don't know what position your plan commission has taken in the past, nor have I ever before tonight been asked the question of whether the mandatory for these buildings is negatory to any other buildings. So we're, I had a request to draft what an ordinance would look like in terms of giving permission through these commissioners to do that. I believe it still leaves discretion with the plan commission on when to issue it. It doesn't say shall, specifically doesn't say shall.
Yeah, it
But-
only says may, it don't
but-
say shall.
But in asking your question, I don't know, I have not looked into it, and I don't know what position the plan commission has taken on those buildings.
Well, per the letter of the concerns, I would have to request an address. Is that
In writing,
therefore opening up my facility for inspection and then since the terminology is may, it would still be up to the plan commission whether or not to issue that address to an auxiliary building.
That's the intent.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
That is the intent.
So they still can, I hate to use the word control, it'll be taken out of context they can still enforce the county's adopted rules and regulations if they come across an outbuilding that is not up to code or was built without code or without permit or whatnot.
it's got permits and everything, this
I'm not talking
particular
about-
building.
I'm not
I understand what
talking
you're
about-
saying.
I'm talking about everybody that already has it built and we haven't found it on the satellite map yet.
Yep. If they want an address, it's gonna require that I'm not saying, because I'm not an attorney and I'm not gonna go there, but I don't think it gives them the right, but it definitely, Dagan, requires them to have physical driveway or a driveway permit. And I would think if it's legal and already got a permit, they're not gonna have a problem because it's already been inspected. But I mean, that's just me. Somebody that's got one that they're not wanting found, they're gonna not have a permit probably for either one, driveway or structure. But,
And they sure won't want an address.
no.
That's
But that's why we put shall. We're not trying to overburden them, but we're giving people, we put may in there. So,
Well, this is a second reading.
And on the second reading, just noting the difference that from the first reading is the additional requirement that they actually have applied for a driveway permit.
I'm sorry, Ann, I didn't get
There was an additional requirement that's been inserted since the first reading based off of a specific concern that says that they have to, if they're applying for this address, they have to have proof that they applied for a driveway permit.
Back when I coordinated the 911, the planning commission office as director 911 coordinator, we issued the driveway permits, and I found out the other day when Sandy called me that they don't issue no more, highway department is. So that's why that was added.
Well, the may actually gives the planning commission, the only thing it adds is a lot of,
They still have the discretion.
pardon?
They still have the discretion by saying may.
They can just say, we're not going to. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
But I would have to go back and look at the statute on what the process is and what appeals would go on and where that would go, land at the end of the day.
So that's my question. What happens when they say no?
I'm not prepared to answer that question tonight, but I could go. If,
They're saying now they wouldn't because it's not a residence, it's not commercial industrial. That's
They're just
why
saying no, they don't want to issue it.
no, Don is saying if they have discretion,
I understand.
then what happens, what's the appeals process? I can pull up the statute, but, it'll take a minute.
Can we table this for 2 weeks?
If you make a motion, we can. If you make that motion, we can.
What I have and read is not what you guys are discussing.
Yeah, all right, jerk.
Are you
mine.
making a
I
motion?
already put mine in recycling. That's the new one that I was given, so.
And
The other
the
one
one
was
in
in
my
the
packet
packet.
and the one I got picked up tonight, they're different. I got,
I'd like to get another thought or two in it, be honest with
Brian
you.
Collier makes the motion that we table ordinance 2024-12.
I'll second. All in favor of that? Tabling the motion for 2 weeks, say aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Motion passes 2-0, or 2-1, pardon me, Kenny. Okay. Moving on, we have an art council appointment. Do you have somebody?
I did, and I wrote it down the last time, and I don't remember the two that said yes. There's one that said no, and there's two that said yes. So
I think we just need, I'll get with you and let you know. I think I've got 3, if you have 2 that said yes, let me know who they are, and we'll put those on the agenda for the next time, okay? That'll work, because we got to get that bunch of work. And what's going on, folks, with the Art Council is we're getting ready. It doesn't look like it, but, and if you have some suggestions for the Art Council or the Art Advisory Board, please let me know, and I'll share it with them. They'll be meeting sometime, it'll be now in September, to look at a couple of items. One is, the big one is there's going to be a big hall called Morgan Hall. That's where everybody comes in. And at the end of Morgan Hall, there's a 21 by 8 space for a mural. And the art advisory is going to be looking for what's going to be on that mural and who's going to do it and that kind of thing. Plus, there's other places for art in the building itself, and maybe some places for art outside the building in the park. But we need people that are smarter than us about art. So we've got a art advisory committee. Ordinance was passed, and and I see Kim's here from the council. The council gets a couple, and we get 5, and we're going to have those folks sit down and give us some suggestions, so you know what we're up to. So let me know those 2, and I'll get those on. And I'm not sure, has the council come up with 2? Have one. Was that Carol? Okay, because that's the one I was going to give you if we needed another one, but you look around, I'll look around, we'll try to get that one for you for the second one. Be great. Okay, down to other business, we have a tort claim.
Brian Collier makes a motion that we forward our tort claim to our insurance carrier.
Second.
Any discussion on that? I will tell the folks out here that the tort claim dealt with a considerable amount of damage to a car that was alleged to have a problem with chip seal road. And we do have some issues with chip seal, and at times, it takes a little while for it to get to where it's not a problem. As Josh will tell you, it's not, or as Justin will tell you, it's not something that happens like a regular pavement. But I will also say that I talked to the sheriff today, or recently, I don't know if it was yesterday or today, and one of the suggestions I made was that we put this was caused, this accident, this tort claim came as a result of a speeding car. You don't speed on chip seal. That's just been put down. That's kind of stupid. But, and it doesn't mean that people aren't going to speed. We put signs up and everything else, and it's what the insurance company's going to tell the person here. We got signs, we got signage, say, slow it. But, you know, you can't fix stupid. And so we've got that issue, and I'm going to at least try, and if they can, we spoke, was I talking to you or Eddie about the electric signs that say you're going, and you got the little lights that say, I slow down. I admit I hit some of those signs and, oh, there's red and blue, better slow down. And it'll help. I don't think it'll solve, like I say, you can't fix it, but just kind of deal with it. So we'll be doing a lot of chip seal. We're not going to stop. It's the only way we can afford to maintain the roads. It's just the simple truth. But we want to try to prevent as much damage as we can. So, did we vote on the tort claim?
It's been voted on.
I'm sorry? We did? I didn't want to pass it up. I get to jabbering and forget if I voted or not. All right, next item we have is for the good of the county.
Mr. Chairman, before we go there.
Yes, sir.
We are honored to have about 8 people that would like to come and speak to us this evening.
Okay.
First up is Stephanie Nutter.
Before we get into the speaking part here and the people want to say a few things, maybe we ought to go over that ordinance that you have it there? So for anybody in the audience who's going to be speaking, basically what it boils down to, I won't go into all and read the whole thing. We've got a nice little ordinance here. You should accomplish your conversations, I suppose, to not exceed 5 minutes. And then I can, if my discretion, add another 5 minutes. Now, right now we've got 5 people, and I imagine I'm going to kind of stick with 5 minutes because that's another half an hour, and I'm getting hungrier all the time. So, 8? I just had 5 on this list, so 8. That's 40 minutes. That could be. We don't necessarily have that, but all right. Well, I'll let you call them off.
Stephanie?
I wrote a statement so I wouldn't mess up. Hello. My name is Stephanie Nutter, and I'm a citizen here in Morgan County. I have a written statement so I don't mess up. Here in Morgan County, we utilize a company called Microvote for our election equipment. After the 2020 election, the state of Indiana provided language stating that the electronic equipment be updated to include paper ballot backups. Microvote is or was a member of the Election Infrastructure Subsector Coordinating Council under CISA. They joined Dominion and ES&S, as well as others on this council, and were or are considered exempt from oversight. This is the group that told U.S. citizens that the 2020 general election, was the most secure in American history, a group exempt from oversight. I'm commingling past and present tense is here because almost all of the information on this council and its members has since become extremely difficult to find online. Here in our county, when questions arise about the security of the electronic equipment utilized by Microvote, it's Microvote representatives that are brought in to reassure Morgan County citizens that everything is safe. It's an echo chamber funneling from a single source, and that source just so happens to also be being paid for their services by our county. And more than that, we're not just paying them to run background operating systems, we're paying them and trusting them to utilize those systems to tally the votes on election day. There is no way for us to know what programming exists in their systems during the time period of an election on election day. I'm asking you to consider that maybe we have allowed the pendulum of electronic software, hardware, firmware, and operating systems to swing too far in the direction of control, unwittingly writing ourselves out of the equation. Voting is a very human process, and one in which human eyes should not only be allowed, but should be required for its oversight. Today, I'm asking that you consider adding humans back into this very human process here in Morgan County. Specifically, would you be willing to add an agenda item to the next county commissioners meeting to discuss the addition of a new ordinance requiring that Morgan County poll workers tally Morgan County votes for all elections, and that the poll worker final count be the number utilized by the county certification statement to the Secretary of State's office? The ordinance language doesn't have to be complicated and could be something as simple as 2 sentences. All votes and/or ballots during all elections in Morgan County, Indiana will be hand counted by poll workers, and poll worker hand counted vote tally will be utilized for the completion of all certified election votes totals. This allows a compromise between the convenience of using electronic voting machines while simultaneously adding back in the human oversight of tallying final vote counts. There are 56 other Indiana counties which utilize Microvote's electronic equipment, now with paper ballot backups. It takes one county to be brave and bring back the integrity for all, as our Pledge of Allegiance reminded us today. I'm praying that God surround each of you with protection, wisdom, and courage to consider a step forward in setting the bar for Indiana by allowing poll workers to be the final eyes on tallying votes. In Indiana's haste to secure elections by adding paper ballot backups in an effort to suggest there was nothing to see here, there is no state code which inhibits county commissioners from passing an ordinance requiring poll workers tally those ballots. To me, you were placed here for such a time as this, to help our citizens in a most historic way by writing us back into the equation. Thanks.
Thank you. Who do we have next?
Miss Libby Arnold.
Oh, wait, should I stood up there and wait for a response?
You made your request. We're good.
Okay, so that one's captured, we're good to go?
Well, it means we heard you.
Okay.
You did your second amendment, and you had your time, and the response from the council is that, or the commissioners, is that we heard what you said.
You heard what I said. Is there any other response besides that? Should I come back next meeting, or?
Not at the time. No, we're not prepared for that at the moment.
When do you think I would know?
Probably, that's not my decision. We heard what you asked. If we have some concerns about it, we will certainly address it.
At the next meeting, or?
I'm sorry?
At the next meeting, or?
Likely.
Okay.
Who knows when, if we'll, if we want to put it on the agenda, if we ask for, I suppose, some comment on it, we'll do our own investigation as to the need and so forth.
Okay.
And if we feel like it's wanted, we'll put it on the agenda, which is, we put our agenda on the website, so you can check the website and see if it's on there.
Okay, and Deb, I did talk to you. Do I just call in and ask for it to be on the agenda as an agenda item?
Sure.
Yeah?
That's-
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you, guys.
Yes, ma'am. Now, who was next?
Miss Arnold.
Ms. Arnold?
Okay.
You want to pull that mic up just a tad?
Yeah. I
Thank-
am.
Thank you,
Libby-
ma'am.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm Libby Arnold. Some of you know me, some don't. I was born and raised Morgan County, still have a Hoosier homestead farm out in Green Township. I love the community. I'm interested in a lot of things, mainly veterans and, I don't know, farmers. But my big thing is animals. I've always been an animal lover. So 26 years ago, in fact, I stood in this very room. I was a lot younger then, and I came before the county commissioners, you all, not you all, but the folks that were there. One of my favorite, Marvin Mason, very, very sweet man. At that time, there had been a lot of problems with the animal control out at Blue Bluff. And I don't blame the county. They had tried. They built a building, they put a gentleman in there to run it, and they did the best they could, but things just didn't work out. A few examples I'll give you here, and this is from his statistics. In 1993, there were almost 1,400 animals euthanized in 1 year. How many came out alive? 75. 75 animals. And that included some that were adopted or, you know, got returned to owner. Anyway, it was kind of dismal. So I approached the commissioners and I said, hey, I think I can help. And we've got some money now. A lady had left us money, and we had got a building. And so I worked with them for almost 2 years to get the contract and got it. And we opened up in 1998 in January. And it was something. We filled up that first week, absolutely filled up, because the building wasn't very big. I was afraid to get a loan. I probably should have, but I didn't know how much it was going to cost. We'd never done this before. I think the contract that we got that year was maybe around $47,000. And we told the county, we will help you. We will do fundraising. We'll get grants. We'll do everything we can to help you. And we brought the cost down. We maintained the building, but that's been 26 years ago. Now, I've been on and off the board for a while. I know at times the leadership's not the greatest down there. You know, people are volunteers, they're busy, but I have tried to get back on the board. I've been trying for 18 months, and I've not been successful. I'm not sure, maybe it's my age. Is that ageism? Are they discriminating against me because I'm old? I don't know. But, I mean, I'm old, but I'm wise. I have knowledge. I've done every position on the board there before. I've brought in money. I used to go on a van and pick up animals. I took them home. I kept them. I tried to place them. I've stood out till my feet were frozen. I've been in the hot weather. I've done it all. And I was certified to euthanize. And talk about post-traumatic stress, it's terrible. Okay, so anyway, not to carry on, but I don't understand. I kind of don't recognize Humane Society anymore. It seems to somehow morph to me into animal control. I've had concerns with the leadership because I've been unable to join the board, along with a friend of mine, Angela Joy, who did a $50,000 grant for them a few years ago. Because I look at it this way, God have plenty of spend this money. I'm sorry, I'm kind of coming in and out. And we don't want these animals born in the first place. So really, spay-neuter would be the key here. Just stop it from even happening, so you don't have to keep throwing at it. Because we're all taxpayers, right? Plus the animals. What's the good of them sitting down in cages? So there's got to be a solution. But like I said, I've been trying to help. I told them, you know, we have grant writing experience. In January, my husband and I put $25,000 in a fund for them. And we put it in Monroe County because they have a lot of resources, probably more than here. at that time, which isn't saying I'm not going to put money here in this community foundation, but anyway, I had called the president and told her, hey, you're going to get a call. You're going to have this money, and I'd kind of like to see it used on the building if you can, but I'm not.
Hey, Ms. Honor, we have 5 minutes,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and
So
that's
anyway,
out. So if
So
you
I
take a
put the
few
money
minutes to
in.
wrap it up.
I put the money in the bank, or the fund for them. No one ever called. Finally, they did call, but then they didn't want the money. And they said that the building is not going to be used that much longer. My question to you is, are you pulling the animal control contract out away from the Humane Society? Are you going to go back to animal control? And if you are, what happens to the building?
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like an answer at some point, though.
Well, we can kind of give you that's one we happen to have already dealt with at a previous meeting. We are currently working with the City of Martinsville to revise the current animal control, which will involve our discussion with the Humane Society as what their role is. We don't run the Humane Society. We're not on the board or anything like that. But we are starting some discussion. We realize there is a problem, and we brought that to the attention of Martinsville and Mooresville. I'm sorry, Martinsville and the county, and then that's in the process of I guess you'd say, addressing the concern that you have, and that'll be coming down the road soon. After we get that, we're going to be talking to some of the other municipalities. But we do need, we recognize that the concern and the need, and we've addressed that. So hope that helps you understand where we are. Thank you. Who we got next?
Dolores Thompson.
Dolores Thompson. Good evening.
I'm a resident of Martinsville, and my concern for some time has been.
Pull that up just a little bit because I don't know the people. There you go. Thank you.
My concern for some time has been that there are animals running not only in Martinsville, but all over in towns inside the city limits in all the towns. And nothing is done about that. I know 5 women over 65 years old personally that have been bitten through their hands, paid their own hospital bills, or of course Medicaid or Medicare, or their insurance, had to pay. The owner was not held liable or had no responsibility at all. We called animal control and they did not show up. And there's been many more bitings and dogs, people walking their dogs, and the dogs are killed by animals, packs of dogs running right in front of their owners. And we would like for that to change. That we would like to ask that the ordinances that are in the works be made public, that the public wants and needs be acknowledged. We want our wants and needs to be considered to be added to the animal control ordinances. Animal control is called, it comes out when they're called. The apartments and trailer parks are acknowledged as the same, under the same animal ordinances, and the owners of these animals and the animals be under the same guidelines. we are residents of Martinsville. We are residents of Morgan County. And what I'm told is that, well, that we don't come out because the apartments and trailer parks have their own rules for animals. Well, the apartments and trailer parks are out of control because they have 2 and 3 large dogs in an apartment, in a 1-bedroom apartment, or even an efficiency apartment. And nobody's doing anything about that. They don't walk their dogs. I know a couple of disabled people that own these dogs, and they don't walk them. The dogs are stir crazy. They're vicious. They're not socialized. They can't be socialized. And, you know, we want to be included in the animal ordinances.
So what does your landlord say?
Well, my dog got attacked by a lady, 2 ladies, 1 dog. And that dog killed her other dog in her apartment and has killed another dog there at the apartments. And when I addressed the dog attacking my dog, she said, "Why didn't you run?" That's what she said.
The landlord said that.
Yes. That is not our building manager anymore. The one that is there now is very frustrated because, again, the animal control has said they cannot remove an animal because according to the ordinances, which have not been updated since the 1960s, according to Josh Mesmer, that if they go in and remove an animal, it's like stealing some of their property. They could be liable for that. So we just want all these things to be considered. The new manager is so frustrated. She's up on that floor. That lady's still there, and she still has 2 dogs. She got another dog after the dog killed her other dog, and it's a big dog. And that dog is adopting the, it was a puppy, so it's adopting the older dogs. You know, so now they're vicious pack dogs. And she's very frustrated about it. She's up on that floor a lot with people just coming out of their apartments, trying to walk their dog, and she comes out at the same time, and that dog just attacks them. So.
Well, Mrs. Thompson, I appreciate your concern and your information, and that's exactly what we need to hear to, when this board decides to put together and revise the ordinance. It's been put off for about, well, it's 1960. Yes. We're looking at a long time.
Yes.
And the world's changed a little.
It has changed.
So we will be addressing those concerns, and I don't know if there'll be public hearings. We'll take any input about what they think, any and all input about what we can do. We're working with Martinsville City, and we're working with the prosecutors, we're working with the sheriffs, we're working with the police chiefs. That when that starts to come together, and it will come soon, not soon enough for some of your losses that you've experienced, but we know the need, and we're going to be trying to address it in some sensible and effective manner.
Somebody sent me the outline of the animal ordinances that are being considered and said that they told me these were the animal ordinances that are being considered, and nothing in there was for the protection of the people or these animals that are being walked and attacked. And
well, the problem I guess we've had right now is that Martinsville has an ordinance, Mooresville has an ordinance, county has an ordinance, and that's not working.
No.
And we know it isn't. And then also the financing of it is not working. And so we got a thorny little problem, but it's not a little problem, it's a big problem because pets and people and animals in general, are important.
They're very
You know,
important. All of them are
So,
important. There's
yep.
just a way to do it.
All creatures, great and small.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
I was told by Josh that, well, I heard him tell the county council that these were going to be rolled out in September. I think that's really fast for everything that needs to be considered and the people's voices to be heard and considered.
And I don't know who you're getting your information on because.
I was
I'm-
there.
Huh?
I was there. I was at the county council's meeting when Josh.
We spoke afterwards, and I told you two things. One, that there is no outline of an ordinance yet, so if you see something, it's not from us because we haven't created it yet. And two, I said we wouldn't even be having our first kickoff meeting until sometime in September. So you may have misunderstood. We are not rolling anything out. We're nowhere near that stage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Next up is Mike Sampson's uncle, Mitch Pierce.
Who is it?
Mitch Pierce.
Mitch Pierce. Thank you, Mr. Pierce.
Good evening to the council. My name is Mitch Pierce. Of course, I'm an owner, business owner here in the town. I'm an Associated Bail Bonds. What I want to discuss, and I'll try to make it brief, is something that Commander Rogers brought up earlier, is the phone system at the jail, okay? I don't know if you're all aware, but that phone system has been out for over 2 months, okay? Now, no phone calls can go in and no phone calls can go out. All right, period. I encourage you to pick up your phone right now and dial the number 349-5067. All right? You call that number, that's control, and you're going to find out this says that number is disconnected. Now you pick up the phone and you dial 349-5070, and you'll get a voicemail that says, this is the Morgan County Jail, and it gives you prompts to go to which person you need to. And for the jail division, it says press 1. Once you press that, it says 4016 is not available at this time. Now, the problem I'm having is that for 2 months, us as business owners, we need to contact the jail on a regular basis, 24/7. Find out what a blood alcohol content is. Find if somebody's able to bond. Find if they have an ICE hold. For 2 months, we've not been able to do that. Today was a really tough day. Commander Rogers will tell you, I've contacted him probably 6 times today alone just to find that out. Now, the general public can't contact the jail to find out anything. Even the website is off, all right? So now what they're doing is they're calling dispatch. So they're tying up a dispatch operator for that dispatch operator to call the jail and find out what's going on with their loved one. Can they get out? What's the bond amount? How can you do it? So right now, as of tonight, I encourage you to pick up your phone and call. You can't get a hold of a jailer. Now, second thing is, you've got jailers, you've got nurses, and I know this firsthand. You've got nurses that are using their own personal cell phone to call doctors and get information from the doctor for the inmates. Now, if that were breached by any way, okay, that nurse or that jailer's information could go back to that inmate. Okay? I'm not just talking about my business that's suffering and we're having to work, but I mean, somebody needs to get on the ball. I mean, really. And this has gone on for 2 months. Commander, am I correct? 2 months that nobody, and honestly, the staff, again, I know this for a fact, The phones were ringing in, and the administration office had unplugged all their phones for 3 weeks. They unplugged their phones. So anybody wanting a police report or to find out any information was having to go to the jail, ask for a deputy, which takes time out of that deputy's time. I'm telling you, you guys, there's a mess right now. It's a mess going on. I'm not trying to be a butt about it, but I'm telling you, that man back there has worked his butt off. I mean, I'm calling him daily. I mean, even the courthouse can't get a hold of the jail. So the only way for them to get a hold of the jail is to email. If they need something right away, they can't get it. So your courts are drugged out. I mean, it is a bottleneck with all the system, and you guys need to figure it out. I'm sorry. It needs to be addressed it's an emergency. Am I correct, Commander? It's an emergency. Very seriously.
If I could do it, I would do it.
Oh,
I know that. I know that it sounds very simple, and I know David's working at it constantly. And I know that it's an emergency, but what's your solution?
so one of the things is, as of right now, to fix it, is the county needs to at least give each department a cell phone to use, okay? The nurse needs a cell phone of her own, book-in needs a cell phone of their own, control needs a cell phone. You're looking maybe 5 cell phones, a package. I mean, that would at least ease, in my opinion, ease the problem. Because there's a person sitting up there on your council whose daughter is using her cell phone, okay? And she should not have to. So what I'm saying is, I'm asking the county to pop up with at least 5 or 6 cell phones. You need 1 for each shift, okay? At least the supervisor for on each shift, you got 3 shifts, 4 shifts? 3 shifts, so there's 3 cell phones. You've got a nurse that needs a cell phone, doctor needs a cell phone, and control needs a cell phone until the problem's fixed. And I don't see the problem being fixed very quickly. It's not been.
David, what's the problem? What's the holdup?
And I'm not trying to throw David under the bus.
It's not his problem. He's trying to deal with it. Yeah, I'm going to add some additional time for David.
So it's honestly not our problem. It's beyond our building. It's a contract between Nimbo, which is the phone company the county elected to go with, and maybe our IT company. It's a back and forth between those 2 companies. We ran all new wiring throughout our building. We put new switches in as Nimbo requested. They say the phones don't work. Well, part of the problem was AT&T between the county. Was transferring the numbers from AT&T. Okay. So, and I don't understand why or what have you, but for whatever reason, Nimbo, which is the same phone service Dispatch uses, needs our phone numbers transferred to them, which is the 4303, all of our numbers in the building, which that process got started roughly a month ago, Josh, I think. So Joe Johnson, our data administrator for the county, started that process, I think, about 30 days ago with Nimbo, the new phone provider. And they have been fighting with AT&T ever since. And so there's been 1,000 emails back and forth of when it's going to get transferred. AT&T's allegedly been playing with the dates of when those get transferred. However, I believe that did occur finally yesterday. Well, I think it actually occurred Friday evening. I actually really think it was Friday. Was it? So, but now that we actually have lines ringing into the facility, which we haven't had this whole time, they're not ringing to the physical telephones. So they're just going somewhere. I don't know where they're going, but they're not going to where they belong. So if you call my office, it's gonna go straight to a voicemail. If you call book-in, it's, you know, like Mitch says, it says that it's not available. If you call our front office desk, it says that, well, that one, I think, just rings. So when we talk to Nimbo, Joel, Josh, and myself, they keep saying it's a network issue. Our network people keep saying it's not a network, like they don't control, they gave them the internet such as they said they needed. I don't know where it's a network issue because the phones are ringing out of so we can dial out. So Mitch was inaccurate by saying that. We can call out, and we have been able to call out of the facility now for a couple of weeks. We have not been able to get calls into the facility. So we can call out, people can't call in. So we can call out, so I don't truly believe it's a network issue, because if it was a network issue, then we would not be able to call out and it would magically not let calls come in. So I do push back to Nimbo saying I think that's inaccurate, and they have gave us some inaccurate information as was setting up the phones initially to see to it. They said that we didn't need some VLANs that they said was not programmed in the phones, that coming to find out were programmed in the phones, and they done it a second time. So that caused some problems even when we first got the phone system, which we worked through that with them. So I am not 100% sold on the company, to be honest, because they have changed a lot of things as we've progressed through this. Allegedly, when dispatch went with the phone system, it was problem-free. Our building's obviously 35 years old and a lot of moving old parts in there, so I can't 100% blame everything on them either. But we did run all new wiring in the building, new phones, new switches, but this thing goes off into the cloud that we don't control, can't see. And I feel that's probably where the problem now lies, and not necessarily inside our network. But I'm not a network engineer, I'm not a phone technician, and we've relied upon both of those, and that's where we're at. So I know Josh has reached out to Joel this evening, as I said, to have him try to get both parties back on site, which we did a couple of weeks ago, which everything was working. It still is working, we can still get calls out. Nimbo, the quality of the phone still is a little iffy, but we can still call out. But they still allege network problems, but they also said all we needed to do was plug in these phones and it would magically work, and that didn't happen either. So, I don't know where we go from here other than keep bringing them in, but we are getting into the automated system now, which tells me that AT&T's problem is solved, and we now apparently own the numbers, and they are coming into the facility. How long it takes for the rest of it to happen, I have no idea.
What about Mr. Pierce's idea on the
The only problem I have with, and I do know what Mitch is saying, and that's why we've used the fax line, which that was working up until today. However, since they've ported these numbers over, that has caused 317 numbers not to be able to dial in. I've been reluctant about giving the public alternative numbers to call, because when those numbers get told to the public and then we switch over here in a day or two or a week or a month and we go back to our own numbers and then those numbers are dead, then we're gonna be fighting that those numbers don't work any longer. Correct, but dispatch, who does not want to receive these calls, do give those numbers out because they don't want the calls coming into them, and when we've asked for them not to do that, so we don't cause confusion, they still do it. So we can't control what other people do. And when someone gets a hold of those numbers, then they just, and especially under these circumstances, not just dispatch, but it is, to some extent, we can't control who gets these not public numbers to give people access to at least communicate in for business purposes, and to get communication back to us. So to get messages to the sheriff's office. People can get a hold of us through dispatch, through the 5544 number. That's still functional. That doesn't go into our building. That goes up to dispatch. We are in hopes, and they should be dispatching out deputies to reports. We don't take reports at the sheriff's office, and you don't call 1080 for that to happen. That's for sheriff's cells and day-to-day gun permit type questions, those type of things. So 5544, that's when you're in a car crash and it's not emergent. That is the number you call when you want a report because someone broke into your house, but it's not happening right this minute. So that's still fully functional, and that's going to dispatch. I admit that there are phone calls getting made because they can't get a hold of the jail, and we get the bulk of, we get, our old automated system used to keep track, and we would get over 30,000 calls a year. So, I know the calls are going everywhere, and I've done everything in our power, so. And they do, they're bondsmen, and they get that call, so. And the public knows me, and they know Facebook Messenger, and that's where, I've done 3 death notifications in the past 2 days through Facebook Messenger of people contacting me because they can't get a hold of the facility, so.
Supposed to get back together when?
Tomorrow?
Will get back with us tomorrow. Give us an update.
Yep.
Thank you.
In the meantime, business owners like me that deal with the jail, that's our business. How are we supposed to operate, okay, without calling commander at 3 o'clock in the morning saying, hey, is so-and-so's OWI, or their blood alcohol content, is it at zeros?
And I have been getting those too.
Okay, and so that, but that's our business. We can't bog anybody out of that jail until their blood alcohol content is zeros. So we have to be able to contact that jail every 2 hours, every 4 hours, every 6, or every 8 hours. All right? So when we can't contact that, these people call and say, hey, is my husband Joe, is he ready to bog out? And I've got to say, I don't know. So then I got to call commander, get him out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, can you get a hold of the jail? Radio the jail, find out from them. This is what's going on today. 8 calls today to find out if a client had an ICE hold or not, which means an immigration hold. But the jail's the only people that can tell me that. So what I'm saying to you is I'm saying the cell phone thing for the time being, you're telling me maybe tomorrow we're gonna be fixed, maybe, it's something that's ongoing. Should've been fixed long ago. Should've been fixed long ago.
I think there's nobody to disagree with that.
No.
But it's not, no, I know you're not. I'm just saying that it's,
There's gotta be a quick fix until the long-term fix gets done.
Well, I'll put it this way, Mitch. You keep calling me tonight. Tomorrow morning, Joel hopefully can have the fax line rectified, which is just a local number. Correct, which should rectify that temporarily until hopefully we can get the rest of the phones
excuse me.
taken care of, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, y'all.
I appreciate the council listening to me. I apologize if I got a little frustrated.
Oh, not a problem.
Thank you all very much. Teresa Etcher? I'll take it. It's Iker. Iker. The E becomes an I. That's why I do numbers.
I'm married, Ed. I'll make it fast,
Oh,
because
thank
there's a
you,
big old
Teresa.
raccoon waiting to eat all my birds. My name's Teresa Eicher. I'm a previous employee with the Morgan County Humane Society, and I'm actually speaking and representing 6 other employees. I left the Humane Society in May of this year. I think it's important to understand that it was in good standing. I was a good standing employee when I left. I absolutely loved the job. I miss it. I enjoyed the coworkers. But the shelter lacks leadership, organization, honesty, and I believe forthcoming of information, and that's why I left. Again, it's not because the job was tough, although it is very tough. I didn't leave because of underpayment or because I'm a disgruntled employee. In fact, calling me disgruntled employee to the public has only lit my flame a little bit higher. trying not to get emotional. I do believe that the current staff and the animals deserve the leadership, and they've deserved this for a long time coming. The work is done through passion, and no one would understand that except for employees that work there. And although you get tired and it's mentally stressful, without the proper leadership in a shelter and in the community, you're really left feeling helpless. I've tried on numerous occasions to get meetings with someone to listen to me and not look at me as a disgruntled employee from the shelter level as well as from the city level, but I keep getting pushed aside and told that everything is hunky-dory, and that actually came out of someone's mouth with the city, and that they're doing the contractual things that they have with the county. That actually, Commissioner Collier, you left me a voicemail saying that. However, they're not. So today I thought I would just take the opportunity to bring up just a few, and I won't take up, but I do think it's important to look at those contracts again, quite honestly, and see what is going on. We were told to go to the National Humane Society or to the Humane Society of the United States to look for guidance. But I want to let you know, in case you don't, because it is in your contract, that they're to follow those regulations. The local Humane Society or local animal shelters or rescues in general, they're individual organizations. So they do not and will not be governed by any Humane Society of the United States. So when you shush people aside and tell them, or me or anybody else with their concerns, you gave us the wrong follow-up that wasn't even legitimate. I spoke directly. I had 2 very lengthy meetings with Samantha Chapman. She's the Indiana State Director for the Humane Society, and she said there's nothing they can do, but everything that I presented to her, she was very disturbed with. So when you tell us that you're not going to regulate them, I just am really curious who's going to regulate them if nobody and everyone keeps turning their heads. I understand that you have minutes, reports, and tax returns. Completely have done all my research, and I know what I can find. I have yet to find any minutes. I've requested them as well as bylaws and have hit that with a dead end. And that, again, is, I don't understand why that's such a big deal to present to anyone. The monthly records reports, I'm curious if those will ever be made public. Those are mentioned as well in the contract that you have with them. I don't know what these monthly record reports are. I've asked for financials as well because I assume a nonprofit wouldn't have a problem showing that. I haven't been successful. As well as there to keep up the structural components of the shelter. So then I just ask when the last time was that you did a walkthrough there, because it could definitely use one. And last but not least, just because I find this very important since they are a 501c3, and for the record, I still donate to them. I just donate what I know they tangibly need until I get any other information, because I do love the animals. And I do think that animal control, this has nothing to do with them. But for example, our tax dollars, which you give them quite a lot of money, I understand it's a little bit under $200,000. One of the animal control officers has been seen driving the animal control truck through town in Morgan County with personal mowing equipment for his personal business on the back of it. I'm assuming we're not mowing grass for animal control issues. So this is putting wear and tear on miles and on these vehicles. And then I also would like to know who's funding the gas for that if he's driving an animal control vehicle with his personal stuff. The last funding that I saw for fuel was $11,000. That's quite a lot of fuel. The board secretary has a Foster Forever dog, the famous Jubilee, which is wonderful. This is a Foster Forever. They will say that this is an adopted dog, which is false. The adoption paperwork was backdated, falsified in order to enter the shelter into a contest earlier this year to win a prize. How can I prove this? I can't, because they're going to give you a document, but you can review the medical history for Jubilee, and you'll see that our funding was donated. It's all taken from the donations because they will have to have a
Pardon me, Ms.
medical
Eicher,
record.
you're making some
I'm
points that
starting.
we're interested, but we're,
5
the
minutes.
5 minutes are up.
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Well,
That was actually the last thing I was gonna
Pointed
say.
again, the concerns that people have about the situation with the animal control and the.
I have no issues with
humane.
animal control. Yes.
Thank
I have
you.
issues with the leaders.
You
Thank
gentlemen
you.
have any comments or? Okay, thank you for your time.
Anna Holloway?
Hello, ma'am.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
My name is Anna Holloway, and I'm a resident of Mooresville, although I graduated from Martinsville High School back in the day. But I am here today as well to address some concerns I have about the current board at the Morgan County Humane Society. I want to start by saying that I'm not up here to say that the board doesn't work hard, because they do. I am not up here to say that the board members are stealing money, because I don't think that they are at all. I'm definitely not up here to say that the board doesn't care about the animals. But what I am here to say is, in the last 20 years that I've worked with nonprofits, one of the things that I have come to conclude is that sometimes caring isn't enough. It's just not enough to care to run a nonprofit. After making several phone calls and talking to a couple lawyers and speaking with past board members and employees, and reading some social media posts on Facebook, I believe that this is the problem at the current Humane Society, is that they care a lot, but the caring just isn't enough to be successful. I bring this in front of you because, as you know, you have 2 contracts with the Humane Society for animal control, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they total about $182,706. I wanted to point out that a couple days ago, a current board member, posted on social media, and I'm going to quote her about these contracts, that said, "The same with animal control contracts we have. They have not been updated since 1991. The contracts that the county provided with me were updated in 2024, not 1991. So I'm not sure where this board member is getting their information. Were they mistold, or is somebody on the board not being transparent and sharing this information with the entire board? Another thing, a former president, Angela Joy, who was unable to attend tonight, she had met privately with the board several months ago and brought up some funding that was sitting available with the Morgan County Foundation. And she was told at that meeting that that money has long since dried up. And again, I'm going to quote a board member on a post on social media. Thank God for social media. She wrote, "The funds you brought up at the meeting were spent years before any of us were on the board." So today I called the Morgan County Foundation and was told that these funds do indeed still exist, and these funds are the Edith Tullis Fund. Now, they weren't allowed to share with me if the board has been collecting any of that money, but they were allowed to share with me 2 names of the contacts they have listed for that money, and those contacts are Carrie Byers and Penny Myers, and those are the current president and treasurer of the board. So answer me this: if the funds were spent long before any of the current board members were on the board, then why are the contacts listed to current board members? Why was Angela told that this funding didn't exist when it definitely does? Is the board not knowledgeable about this funding, or are they hiding the fact that they're receiving it? The Humane Society also has a contract with the town of Martinsville that I was able to find, and it was created in 2018, but it's renewed yearly unless it has to be reviewed. And that is in the amount of $18,000, which is to be divvied up monthly at an average of $2,000 a month. The gentleman that sent me the email, I'm going to butcher his last name, I'm sorry, Ben Merida, works for the town in some manner, said that the funds had not been paid out this year because they had not received proper documentation from the Humane Society. And I asked if I was allowed to know what that documentation was, and he said yes. And this was his exact words: "Sure, we require an invoice to process the payment." An invoice. The board has not had time in the last 8 months to invoice the town of Martinsville for $2,000 a month, but yet we're continuing to be pleaded with to donate, donate, donate. And we have money sitting that isn't being used. Does the board know about this money, or do they not know about it, which is a concern either way? And lastly, on a personal note, we have a donated washing machine sitting in our barn that belongs to the Humane Society that my sister, Teresa, who just spoke, had offered to store for them. And recently, they went on Facebook and asked for somebody to donate a washing machine. How do they not know what they have available already? Why are they asking for something they already have? She even went so much as when she left on May 16th, she sent a photo of every single thing that Humane Society had in our barn that was available to the president, Carrie, and nobody to this day has yet to pick up any of it, including the washing machine.
Thank you, ma'am. I think.
Is that
your
5
time's
minutes?
up, but
All right, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate the information, and it will be, the gentleman have any comment? We appreciate that. We have your recorded messages, and as I've pointed out, we're going to be working to resolve some of these really important concerns that you brought to us. Thank you. Who's next?
Samantha Sanders?
Standard, was it?
Sanders.
Sanders, I'm
S-A-N-D-E-R-S.
sorry.
You're okay.
My ears are wearing out.
It is
Oh,
after
my ears
9.
aren't working.
It is after 9. I'm usually in bed with my kids at this point, so you guys are fine.
Thank you.
But I appreciate you guys taking the time to come together on a regular meeting and allow us to speak. I am a owner, founder, director, however you want to say it, of Little Rascals Pet Rescue here in Morgan County. Little Rascals Pet Rescue, and we have worked with animal control. We've worked with Susan Rischel sitting in the back. We've worked with the Humane Society on numerous occasions, and you have all heard what has been said about the Humane Society tonight, animal control and the like, so I'm not going to reiterate most of those things. What I am going to reiterate, or rather plead to you as commissioners, is to let's do our due diligence. So we as taxpayers spend money in our county, you guys give it to the Humane Society and to animal control, and I think that's phenomenal because it's a needed service. Animal control, the Humane Society is a needed service in our county, but how is it being regulated? And so with that, I think, Mr. President, you had said earlier that your number one concern is for health, and the most important thing we do in this county is that concern for health. Where does that end? Does that end with just people? Does that end with just people, or is that extended to our partners in crime with 4 feet and sometimes 2 feet? You know, does that include them too? Because if it does, I'm urging you and pleading with you to go into our Humane Society. Go into the Humane Society, speak at length with our animal control officers and even the board. Is it misguided? Possibly. I'm not at liberty to say that because I only see what mostly social media says, what I hear from other people, and what I hear from animal control and the current board members. So that vision that I have is skewed, but I urge you to come up with your own vision by actually going into the Humane Society and stepping foot on those grounds. And with that, I think Teresa had mentioned that the only people who really have the passion for it are the ones who are working in the Humane Society, and I don't believe that because there are so many animal rescues in this county that are so passionate about these animals that we want to work with the Humane Society, but we're blocked. So my rescue personally has offered to donate over 8,000 pounds of food on several different occasions to the Humane Society, I think 1 or 2 years ago when they took in a 63 dog hoarding situation. We offered to donate 8,000 pounds. We were told, sorry, it's not the right kind of food, so we don't want it. And then within 4 hours, they were online pleading the community for food. And it was good quality food. If you know anything about dogs, it was good quality food. And when you have 63 dogs, as a rescue, we can't be choosy. We have to make sure they're fed. That is one of our priorities, is they're fed and they have health standards up to date. And I think someone had said, I think, Mr. President, you had said it too, you can't fix stupid, but you can't fix ignorance either. If you don't know, you're ignorant. If you're not in the building and you're not there, that's ignorance. And most people will say ignorance is bliss, but in this case, it's not, because it's affecting our community, it's affecting our towns, and it's affecting now the commissioners having to listen to all like 8 of us that have complained about it. So with that, I call upon you guys to really look at surrounding counties and look at their ordinances and open up, because Marion County has a phenomenal animal control purview. They really do. And I call upon you guys to look at those, because in my personal and professional opinion, those ordinances should not be drafted solely by our commissioners. They should be drafted by those subject matter experts who are in the know, like animal control, like the Humane Society, like the 12 other rescues and local nonprofits in this community that are in the animal rescue world every day. And with that, there's so many things that we can do as a community to come forward to help draft those ordinances, but we have to be allowed to be a part of it, because it is our community, and being able to have a say would be a phenomenal thing for us. So with that, I do want to pose the question to the commissioners: what will you do? What will you do to make this animal community better? Because it's health for them, it's health for humans, as we heard, I think, from Dee. You know, there's a health for humans concern, other animals concern, and what can you do? And what will you be willing to do to help us help them and be a voice for the voiceless?
Thank you, and I can sort of answer your question, is that any ordinance would be, of course, us, but we will be looking at what does work. Sure. And it's pretty obvious that what we have isn't. Sure. And so that's one of the reasons we're putting something together to try to provide what all you passionate people, and myself, I love my pigeons.
And as a community, we appreciate it, and we just hope that we can be heard.
Right.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you very much.
Last on the list, Dr. Tom Martin.
Dr. Tom. What's the last name?
Martin?
Tom Martin. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to address the board. By virtue of being married to one of the founding members of the Humane Society, I've been privy to discussions of a lot of the former presidents of the Humane Society, so I am somewhat peripherally aware of what's going on. So you can't really solve a problem unless you can define it. So what is the definition? Well, the founding members have expressed that they think that the Humane Society has left their mission, that it is no longer really a functioning Humane Society, maybe not actually living up to their 501c3 requirements and some of the other charitable organization requirements. But that's beside the point. What would the solution be? I think the solution is to separate animal control from the Humane Society. They really don't have to be the same entity. The Humane Society took on the animal control contract back in the 90s, but that was not their mission, really. So I think separating those two entities, the devil may be in the details, actually, in how you do that. The Humane Society built the building virtually from nothing. So it took hundreds of people to donate. It was quite a phenomenal undertaking back in the day, because they had nothing. They put their own money up with the idea that they could make this work, and they did. So they don't want to lose that. The founding members are still around, and they have lifetime membership in the Humane Society. And they are willing to come back in and help to refocus the Humane Society. It was a success story for the county. It has to be saved, really. But I don't see why that can't be a win-win situation. Animal control, its own separate entity, and Humane returning to their original mission.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. Appreciate the thought. I'm sure that'll be on the table. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Well, I'll begin for the good of the county. We always end a meeting with that. And it's, for me, there's two things right now. One is I hope you didn't think I was cruel to my pigeons the other day at the wall of healing, but they wouldn't leave the cage. And that was very sad. I will qualify that by saying they weren't my pigeons because I was worried about the weather. And I got some feral pigeons, which are wild pigeons from a friend that an Amish man gets them out of a barn and gives them, and then they just spend a little time with him, then they fly away and go back to where they were, some barn or someplace, whereas the homers don't do that. So I was being kind to my pigeons. But that wall of healing was a wonder. I hope you all got a chance to visit it. It was a remarkable endeavor put together by some fantastic people, and it was very moving to be there. My second thought, really quickly, for the good of the county, goes to what we've done here this evening. We brought together folks with concerns, and if there's anything that's important in, I taught government and history for 40 years, and I have a great deal of respect for the founding fathers, and I wasn't worried about their religion. I'm worried about their thought about how we should govern. And I say that because there's somehow or another we're mixing the two. But the Second Amendment about the freedom of speech is vital. We don't all have to agree, but we have to put together concerns of what's needed and how we go about accomplishing that. And sometimes we don't do a great job with it. We have phone systems that fail. But we are always interested in the people. And that's why the three of us decided we'd be in a position where we can help that. And it's really a very deep appreciation that I have for a system of governing at the local level, granted, where we can be civil, we can agree or disagree, but we don't, all we do is listen and try to do our best for the benefit of all. I wouldn't want to live anyplace else. Thank you. That's my for the good of the county.
My good for the county is that I've been here since 8:30 this morning, and my wife just said, "Where are you at?" Any friends out there at all, please vouch that I'm sitting here for 12 and a half hours today. No, I thought if you didn't get the chance to see the wall, breathtaking, and it was moving to me. History minor down at Hanover College, emphasis in military. I believe history, unfortunately, often too many times repeats itself. I was humbled by talking to some of the younger kids that I saw out there that had no clue or any facts about the Vietnam War. Kind of a sad statement. So I was encouraged, though, that they had taken the time to go out there to learn a little bit about the Vietnam War. So if history is forgotten, we are doomed to repeat it. So for the good of the county, we had a heck of a history lesson that was available to our citizens this last week.
Yes, it was. Very, very moving. Kenny?
No, it was very moving, Brian. I was out there twice, and it was very, very nice. I commend all the committee that put so many hours in on that and stuff, but and I do appreciate the citizens here tonight with concerns about the animals and the shelter and everything. I've actually, we had 3 rescues at my house. It's our babies, and we have 2 others. It's not, but they're all our babies. And I take taking care of animals serious. I've bred animals for years. I've done a lot of hunting and raising of animals, and I got a special place in my heart for the animals. So we will be following up on this, that's for sure. I agree what this young lady said here in the green. You guys are the rescue people. You know what's going on. I'm fortunate enough that I live across from another vet tech that's a rescue, and she's a blessing as well. So.
Thank you, Kenny. Thank you all for your courtesy and your decency and your opinions and thoughts. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. You're adjourned. Thank you, folks.
Vote no on the adjournment. If you vote no.
No, adjournment. Thank you, Ann.
Thank you, Ann.
Hey, guys, see you later.
See ya.